Okay, this is going to be the second video on the Fizgig hot air engine, and again, this is a new project. I don't know how much machining I'll be showing on this project, but I've done some work off camera, and so it's probably some of the trickiest stuff that needs to be done. Excuse me. I'm working on the displacer, and I've got it on the mini lathe, and it's a very, very thin piece of aluminum, and it has to fit perfectly into the chamber in order to work. So I tried to purchase some tubing that would save me a lot of machining time, and that's worked out pretty well, although I did find some discrepancies in the plans, so I'll probably need to improvise a little bit. But basically, I think we're probably good. Let me zoom in on that. What I've done is you can see there, I'm ready to cut that to length. And I've got a piece of Delrin rod inside the tube, because the tube is really, really thin. We're talking a few thousandths, maybe around 10 thousandths of an inch thick. So they need some support in order to, even to cut the tubing. Initially, I put a piece of Delrin inside that was machined to the inside or ID of the tubing. So anyway, I cut a piece to length and put in there, and then I used the same piece of Delrin to support it while I machined it down a little bit. It only took a couple passes. The wall thickness was super thin to begin with, so, and the internal dimension was as good as I can get it. This thing has to be really lightweight. You know, like, I don't know, a fraction of an ounce, right? So it doesn't weigh very much. Anyway, there it is, and I'm going to cut it off to length, which has got to be very precise, and then we'll make the two end caps for it. So that's the displacer. Also, off camera, I last time on the last video, we used CNC to cut out the bed plate, or the plate that everything connects to. And you can see it there. I've got it sitting down there by the lathe. And what I did off camera was to, you can see a little piece of angle iron there. Now that was what was recommended in the plan, to use a piece of angle iron. So that's what I did, but actually I would suggest that just take a 1x1 block of steel and cut the base out, because the angle iron is kind of rough, a little hard to get finished, and a block of steel probably would have worked better. Would have been more machining work, but it would have been a better situation. So anyway, there's the base now attached to the bed plate. So I did that off camera, and so it worked out fairly good. Now, moving on, the next step will be to make the chamber, the air chamber. And right now, I've got a piece of another piece of tubing. This is a very precision piece of tubing. You can see on top, I got a piece of Delrin up there, sitting on top of the TEG lathe. I know this isn't a good view, but this is just, I don't want to move the camera right now. But so there's a piece of tubing that I've got chucked up in the TEG lathe. The internal, or the idea of the piece of tubing is already a precision a piece of tubing, and the displacer fit is just exactly what I need. So what I'm going to do now is turn down that piece of tubing. Before I can do that, I've got to get a piece of Delrin machine to the right ID size so I can insert it into that piece of tubing, because I'm going to be machining the piece of tubing down to like, there's some parts of it that are only 8/1000ths of an inch thick. So I've got to have some kind of support inside the piece of tubing, and also the piece of Delrin, if it fits nice and snug inside the ID of the tubing, it gives me a place to center drill and use the tailstock and the revolving center to make sure that I hold everything true. And so that's what I'm doing. And there'll be segments involved here. So I'm going to shut the camera off and on. Let me move the camera, and I'll give you a little better view of what's on the TIG lathe. Okay, there's a little better view of what's on the TIG lathe. You can see it's a piece of tubing, and I've got this piece of Delrin that I'm going to machine to the outside diameter of the Delrin down, machine it down to the inside diameter of the tubing, so I can use it for support. And right now I've got the end of the tubing dialed in with using the 4-jaw chuck. So, I'll be able to center drill the piece of Delrin and use the tailstock to hold it, because it's going to get really thin. What happens is that that's the air chamber, and that piece of tubing gets machined down to a little thicker wall thickness than, how do I explain it? There's two segments that are fairly large that are only like 8/1000ths of an inch thick, and there's 3 bands that are thicker. So what I'll do is machine it down to the thickness of the bands, and then we'll cut the larger portions away in between the bands. Maybe I'll show some of the machining on that. So far I haven't had the camera out here, so we haven't shown any machining, but there hasn't been a lot. Mostly I've trued these things up, prepared the Delrin and so forth and so on. So anyway, we'll be moving ahead with this, and so maybe there'll be a little bit more on this video, but you can see there. The inside of the tubing is a precision piece of tubing, so it is welded, but it is perfectly smooth inside. And so anyway, that's where I'm at on the project, and so I'll be moving forward, and maybe we'll show some machining later on today on the chamber before I cut that to length. And then the next step will be making the end caps, and the Displacer has 2 end caps. They're a little bit different in configuration, but it does have 2 end caps. The chamber just has 1 end cap. So anyway, the end cap will be made from mild steel, and that's what the piece of tubing is there. And the end caps for the Displacer will be made from aluminum, and that's what that piece of tubing is. It's just a piece of aluminum. So with that, I'll call off on this segment, and maybe I'll splice some more onto this video, so it may become a little bit longer. So that's where I'm at. I'll call off now, and I'll bring you back when we get to the next step. Okay, we're going to cut off the Displacer. I got it roughly marked. Hopefully we're pretty close. We can always compensate with the end cap if we need to for the exact length, but easy does it, because we don't want to grab this little thin piece of aluminum, so easy does it. edge is stuck on the Delrin. Not sure what I'm going to do about that little problem. Okay, well, I'll figure out how to get that off of there. What we did was, when we cut it, even though we were taking it just a few thousandths at a time, we you know, the edge became rolled over a little bit on the inside, and it's stuck on the Delrin. So anyway, let me I'll bring you back in a few. Okay, there it is. And it just took a little force to get it off there, right? But I need to reuse this piece of Delrin. This, after I cut it, it's 13 thousandths of an inch too long. So I've got to trim it off a little bit somehow. And it might be handy to be able to put it back on this piece of Delrin again. And now the second problem is I need to get the rest of it off here. And the edge of that piece is also a little bit, it moves, but the edge is probably, you know, bent into the Delrin a little bit. So I need to get that off. So that'll be another problem. I'll probably have to, you know, cut it this way to get this piece off here. And so we'll work on that next, and then we'll start on the chamber. I'll bring you back. Okay, I decided I got to cut this little piece off the Delrin. So I kind of clamped it. It's not clamped very good, but I think it'll work. It's clamped in the vise, and I used a cant clamp to squeeze the tubing together so it can't move. Otherwise, it'll spin around on the piece of Delrin while I'm trying to cut it. So I've got it clamped tight in both directions, and we just got a few thousandths to cut through here, and we'll have it. So I don't know where I'm at. I took the first pass to see where I was at. I think, yeah, okay, I'm good. I'm making a cut anyway. I think it's not sitting in the vise exactly square either. I see that, so that's not a good deal. I got an 1/8 inch end mill on there, 2 flute end mill, and we got to go down to the Delrin. So I'm just taking a couple thousandths at a time to get through here. There's a little groove in the Delrin, it won't make any difference. I can still use it. I think we're just kind of pushing things down a little bit here. Yeah, we're definitely in the Delrin. So that should do it. It's going to come off there now. Alright, let's just shut this thing off and get this out of the way. Get this clamp off here and open up the vise a little bit. So there we are. Well, there we are. So I just cut that off there. So now there's a little groove in the Delrin there, but that won't make any difference. At least I get this scrap off there. Now I can put the other piece back on there and clamp it up in the lathe, and I can cut off the 13 thousandths that I need to take off of it. Okay, we could probably compensate by changing the end cap, but I'd rather make it precise at this point. So I'll bring you back. Okay, I'm not quite sure how to show this, but what I've done is I put some tape around the tube, so you can see that. Let me move this around a little bit here. So I put some tape around it so the jaws don't scar the tube, and I have to put a little pressure on the tube because there is some space between the tube and the Delrin, so I have to be able to hold it there. All I'm going to do is cut it off. So I've dialed in 13 thousandths on the micrometer here. You can see that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the slide out. I'm going to move over 13 thousandths, which is not even the width of the cutoff blade. So, and I'm going to cut it off. So I'm going to move the camera here, and we'll proceed to cut that off, and then we're going to have the same problem again trying to get it off. Last time it just took a healthy pull, so hopefully that's all it takes. Oh. A little wobble on the edge there, but it won't make any difference. There we be. I know that's not going to come off there, so. So there it is. So I'm just got to get this off here. It's going to take a healthy pull to get it off. That's all. Big thing. Okay, that's so now we're going to start to work on the we're going to make the Delrin piece for the air chamber next. So let me I'll bring you back. Okay, we're turning the piece of Delrin down to size, so I won't put all this on camera. In fact, I don't know exactly, I can't remember exactly what it's got to be. I know I need to take off about 3/16 of an inch. So we're taking 40 thousandths off of it now, so off the diameter. So I got to stop it time to time to try to clean off the swarf. Probably a better way to do this, but I'm not experienced with Delrin, so this is the problem I always have. So I guess I need to do some research and see if I can figure out how to eliminate the swarf, but it's a little bit of a problem. So it builds up on here, and yeah, it's a bitch to get off always. Okay. Okay, that's probably as far as we need to go right there. I'll set the stop there. That way we'll be the same place every time. There we go. Okay, let me, I'll bring you back. I'm going to shut the camera for a minute, and I'm going to do mic this and see where we're at, and then I'll see exactly what we need to be. I'll mic the inside of the chamber, air chamber, and see what it is. I've kind of forgotten. I did it once, but I didn't write it down like a dum-dum. So I'll bring you back. Okay, I'm back for a second here. So I mic'd it. We're at 1.094 or 1 and 94 thousandths, and the inside of the chamber is 1 and 26 thousandths. So we got 68 thousandths to come off the diameter, or 34 thousandths off the radius. So I'll do that off camera, and I just wanted to let you know where we're at. And so we'll take it off, mic it again, and I'll probably make it a couple thousandths under so it slips into the chamber. But actually, I wasn't really concerned about how tight it fit on the displacer, but on the chamber I need it to fit rather tight in there. So so here we go, and I'll bring you back in a few minutes. So we're just going to be machining the Delrin down just 1 or 2 passes, and we'll have it. Bring you back. Okay, I'm back. I turned this thing down to exactly 1 and 26 thousandths. So obviously this is the air chamber piece. It's too long actually right now, but this is the air chamber piece. The ID is okay. We're only going to turn down the OD, the outside diameter. Obviously, it's not going to go on there. So I tried it. You can see, okay. It starts right, barely. I've got a chamfer on the end of this, so it's going to start, but it's not going to fit. So. They're both exactly the same, and I want this to fit. I want this to fit tight. So what I'm going to do here off camera is I'm going to take another, I don't know, 1/1000th off. That'll give me 2/1000ths clearance. That should be plenty to get this to slip on there. So it's going to be a trial and error. Maybe I'll even try to take a half and see how that works. I'm going to slide the tailstock back up so I've got my center in there, and we're just going to creep up on it here till we can get that to slide on there nice and snug. We want it to fit. We want it to fit pretty good. So that's what we're going to do. So I'll bring you back, but I'm not going to put that on camera because that's going to be a little bit tedious and time consuming. So anyway, I'll bring you back in a few. Okay, back again. So I took about 1/1000th or a little bit more, maybe between 1 and 2/1000ths off of it, off the diameter. So I'm gonna get in your way here, but this is a nice tight fit. It goes on, but it's a nice tight fit. That's what I want. And so what I'll do is I'll cut off a piece of this Delrin the right length. For this air chamber tube is longer than it needs to be because I've left myself some room to check it up, and also to cut down the outside diameter or whatever I need it to be. So we're going to end this video at this point because this thing is getting very long, even though I've done most of it off camera, but at least I've gone through the steps to produce these 2 parts. And so next we'll get into the end caps, but that'll be another video, and they'll come out of a piece of solid material. I looked at my scrap box, and I've got a piece of let me turn this around so I can see what I'm doing. So let me zoom out too. So I've got a piece of solid bar stock here. I think it's 1 1/4 inches, and this will work for all 3 of the cap. Well, this will work for the 2 caps for the aluminum tube. And then I'll have to dig around, but I'm pretty sure I've got some steel bar stock around here that's large enough to do the hot air chamber end cap. So that's where we're at. We're going to leave it there. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. We'll get this video posted so you can see the steps. And this, I might mention that what enticed me to do this, number one, the main thing is a friend of mine, Walter Macy up in Canada. He's doing the same project, and we've done the same projects off and on over the years. So he's building this same engine. So he's built it before, I think, and so he's building another. And I have a 10-year-old grandson that I was hoping to get interested in this, but with the virus pandemic thing going around, I haven't seen him for months, and so I don't know what's going on. They live close by, so, but you know, we're old folks, so they're afraid to come over here. I don't blame them, and I guess it's for our safety. But anyway, that's what's going on. So I'm hoping to get my 10-year-old grandson interested in this. He's always wanting to come out in Grandpa's shop and see what's going on. So that's part of the reason. And I'm just trying to follow along with my friend up in Canada. I'm not sure he's putting out any videos on this, but I am, and I'm sure he will as he progresses along. So with that, I'll call off. Thanks for watching. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.